Gary, Marty and me, my story of living with a double brain tumour diagnosis and how humour and positivity helped me to cope. In this episode, part 3 of my Craniotomy Diary series, I am 5 days post-op and share my progress and thoughts.
Hi, just me again. I thought I'd record another short podcast for anybody who's just about to have a craniotomy. I had mine 5 days ago. I'm recording this on Christmas Day 2022. And so mine was a front right glioma, front right lobe glioma that had to be removed. So I had a craniotomy 5 days ago. So to be honest, it's not been as bad as I expected. I had a brainstem meningioma removed back in February, and basically I just had to sleep every day for 5 days. I think the anaesthetic had just wiped me out. But this time I haven't had that. In fact, I've been on my feet trying to help out where I could today. Possibly not as much as my wife would have liked, but anyway, that's me. But I have tried. So I've had a good day. I did have to have a snooze this afternoon, but that was probably the couple of glasses of wine that I tucked away, plus the Bucks Fizz this morning while we were preparing Christmas dinner. I say we, my wife with me just moving things around as instructed, but anyway, getting pressure cookers down and steamers and that sort of thing. But in terms of the craniotomy, I've had a few crap nights sleep. I'm on steroids, which is to help with the healing, because I have an area about the size of the palm of my hand where my scalp was peeled back, and underneath there, of course, would be the bone flap where they accessed my uninvited little friend Gary the glioma. That I've read the steroids can keep you awake, and I think that's proved accurate. I have been awake, and when my painkillers have worn off, I've kind of had a throbbing, very low level throbbing headache. Not as bad as you'd expect, considering somebody's done the equivalent of fitting a Velux window in my head. And also I was warned about a couple of strange effects, only one of which I've had. The two I was warned about was possibly if you get fluid, sometimes you'll roll over in bed and hear the sound of flowing water. Well, fortunately I've not had that, but I am having the creaking. If I happen to roll onto my right hand side in the night, I can sometimes, a little bit like when your neck creaks a little bit. If you're getting a bit older, you'll know what I mean by that. So I was so glad this morning when I woke at about 2:20 to find that I was due some pain meds. So, and it had got a bit cold in the house last night, so I put the Lecky blanket on, took my pain meds, put Scala radio on the Echo Dot, which was some nice, gentle, Christmassy choral music, and I kind of almost felt the relief of the painkillers wash over me like a wave, and I felt myself sink into the mattress and feeling really, really comfortable, and finally drift off. And it was really the best sleep I've had since I've been in hospital on Tuesday, because, hospitals are not the best places to sleep unless you are absolutely out of it under an anaesthetic, which I wasn't by that point. So how does it feel? Well, if I touch the area, because I've not got my bandage on anymore, the skin flap area feels numb, like when you've been to the dentist, when you touch your cheek after you've been numbed at the dentist. And I guess as it's, without getting too graphic, been peeled back, all the nerves have disconnected. So I'm assuming the fact that it's becoming a bit painful is because it's now starting to heal and the circuits are reconnecting. I don't know whether that's a good analogy or not, but that's the one I've got. So I touch my hair, and that part of my scalp feels very oddly numb. Not surprising, I suppose. It's only 5 days. I'm going to take the pain and discomfort. I say pain, I don't want to overstress that. It is very mild headache sort of thing, like if you've stood up under a cupboard and bruised your head. But it's uncomfortable enough to keep me awake without the painkillers. So, but considering what actually has happened to my head, it could be a lot worse, and I was expecting a lot worse. So, and I was a lot more uncomfortable after my brainstem operation on my skull base back in February. So, any improvement over that is a win. So that's good. So I'm just lying here on Christmas evening, just hoping. I've taken my tablets, they seem to be working. So I just thought I'd record another very, very short podcast for anybody going through this. So then it wasn't my plan, but you more or less had a daily update. As I said yesterday, I was out walking on Christmas Eve in the sun, and after my first operation, I couldn't get very far without a walking stick. In fact, I had to use a mobility scooter, my mum-in-law's mobility scooter, to get into town, and I certainly don't need that after this craniotomy, so that's a lot better. So, so don't be too terrified. I think, it's been better than I expected, and less debilitating than I expected. So, anyway, I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas, and I hope these little short podcasts have been some help. Cheers. Bye. Night.
By the way, like me, over 12,000 people each year in the UK and an estimated 300,000 worldwide suddenly discover that they have a brain tumour, and from the moment that they receive that news, their lives will never be the same again. This podcast has been created to try and raise funds for the Brain Tumour charity, who've been a big support to my family and I. As well as offering support to individuals and families, they fund life-saving research in the hope of ending the harm done by brain tumours. If you can help in any way, big or small, please go to www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Stuart-Hannah. That's STUART-HANNAH, and make a donation. Thanks.